Rage on that beat, going crazy.
All right. Saturday morning. I'm in Willows, California. Down here to drive Thunder Hill for a couple of days. Today's day one. Forecast says sunny and 75. Track should be in great condition, especially this morning when it's a little bit cool. And hoping to get to drive the Cyclone, although sometimes they run the bypass, so we'll see. But Thunder Hill is just west of Willows, which is north of Sacramento, about 100 miles or so. Thunder Hill opened in 1993 with a 1.9 mile course, and that was extended to 3 miles just a couple years later, and that is what is referred to as Thunder Hill East. Thunder Hill West, roughly 2 miles, opened in 2014, and the combination of the two tracks offers up to 4.88 miles and 27 turns, and a bunch of elevation change, about 220 feet. I say up to 4.88 and 27 turns because there are multiple configurations. It doesn't have the history of Sebring or Daytona or Indianapolis or Laguna Seca, nor the hefty price tag of $300 million to build Circuit of the Americas. But it is the longest road course in the country, and it also hosts the longest race, the 25 Hours of Thunder Hill. Steve Crawford, I'd like to meet the man. He is the mastermind behind the layout, and he also designed one of my home tracks, the Ridge Motorsports Park in Shelton, Washington. The Ridge is a little bit smaller, 2.5 miles, quite a bit smaller, 16 turns, 300 feet of elevation change set against the beautiful backdrop of Mount Rainier and the Olympic Mountains. It's a beautiful part of Washington State, and lots and lots of seat time there, beating up my brake pads and my tires. I'm a fairly experienced track rat. We've driven Willow Springs, Buttonwillow, Laguna Seca, Speed Vegas, the Thermal Club, Auto Club, Portland International, Oregon Raceway Park, Laguna Seca, maybe I said that already, and also spent 3 days at Circuits of America. Thunder Hill and the Ridge are two of my favorites, right behind Coda, Laguna, and Pacific. A lot of people aren't crazy about Pacific. Much of the pavement is old. There isn't much runoff, man. If you're off the track, most of the time it's bad. Morning. Get a covered parking space. Thank you. That said, they're already undergoing some pretty healthy renovations. Turn 2's been redone. I think turn 8 and 9, or at least 8 has been done, and construction of new facilities, retail, garages, etc. And the real reason it holds a special place in my heart is because where I used to sneak into drag races when I was in junior high and high school, and it's where I learned, first got on the racetrack. Back to Thunder Hill. I drove the 3 mile course back in 2014 in a slightly modified E92 M3, and I've always wanted to go back and drive the Cyclone. The Cyclone. Man, if you look it up, you'll see images of cars full on in the air on 2 wheels. It's pretty crazy. It's turn 5 and 5A, and 5 is a sharp left-hand turn at the top of the ridge, followed by a right-hand off-camber sweeper. The entrance to both turns are pretty blind until you reach the top of the hill, and to get through it really fast and safe, you got to set the car up in the right place or you're headed off the track. The fastest lap I could find for the combined track, the 4.88, or roughly there, was 2:33 on a 4.35 mile configuration. This was done in an ASR class prototype racer. Damn, that is flying. Absolutely flying. My best time on the 3-mile course in 2014 was 2:11. So I've been watching a bunch of in-car footage of the combined tracks, and right around 4 minutes seems to be decent time for amateur drivers. So if I can get in that vicinity by the end of the 2 days, I'm going to be feeling pretty good. It'll be my first track event of the season, and only my second time driving Thunderhill East, and of course my first time on the West section. So I just want to have a good time and you know, get the car home safely, get home to the wife and kids. The Cyclone 5 and 5A. Hope we get to drive it today. I did not get to drive it when I was down and drove the 3-mile course 2014. From here it looks like just a slight rise in the track. Out there it's a much different story. You have to make a fairly sharp left-hand turn to hit the apex right at the top of the rise, and if you're not far enough to the left or you turn in too early, you're going to be in the dirt on the right side of the track. On the other side of the hill, which you can't see, assuming you're far enough to the left, you've then got to quickly turn back to the right, go down the hill and through an off-camber turn. It's a serious challenge to maintain your speed. I can hardly wait. It is now about 11:30, and I have yet to be on the track. I messed up. I had the ignition on and didn't turn it off and walked away, and came back like 15 minutes later and my battery was dead. Trunk locked, so couldn't get into the trunk to charge the battery or jump it. But I did manage to find a jump box and connect it to the hood, which gave me enough power to get the trunk open, and we connected a jump box to the battery in the back and also under the hood, and that got the car started. That was a big step, but it wasn't the last step I had to take. Every error code you could possibly imagine, and the car was basically in limp mode. And so made a couple of calls, called Chris Benny at Prova up in Seattle. Actually, we were texting back and forth on Messenger, and called my nephew Josiah Criscuolo, who works at Kirkland, Alfa, Romeo, Maserati. And between the three of us and one of my nephew's buddies, we got it figured out and found a video on YouTube that showed me how to clear error codes. I've got like 15 more minutes and I'm finally going to get out on the track. What a morning. As I sit in the hot pits waiting for the go-ahead to enter the course, I realize I'm still twisted around the axle from this morning's cluster with the battery and air codes. I need to move on and get focused, because here we go. As I recall, I had felt really comfortable with turns 1 through 4 of Thunderhill East, so I'm already thinking about the cyclone. Here it comes, here it comes, here it comes. Damn, we're running the bypass. The bypass isn't bad. In fact, it's challenging in its own right. You can't see over the top, and it's an off-camber turn. Not sure I ever fully got comfortable with it the last trip. I spoke to Speed SF about running the bypass instead of the cyclone, and they said that including the cyclone just takes way too much time with a full contingent of cars in each run group. Oh well, 26 turns and 4.5 miles to explore. Should be more than enough. first session of the day, I'm still getting focused, shaking off the winter rust, and learning Thunderhill West. A humbling experience to be passed by cars with far less power. I tell myself they are much more familiar with the track, and I'll be able to keep up once I've got some more seat time. By my third or fourth session, I'm finding a decent groove. I'm able to catch the M3, everything feels smoother, and I'm doing a better job of hitting the apexes. I'm starting to really enjoy the track, and I think I can hit my lap time goal. That could have gone better. Well, the day started out with a near catastrophe. It would have been terrible to drive 8.5 hours. I mean 10, and not get to drive the track. That would have been total foobar. My best lap time of the day was just under 3 minutes and 40 seconds, so I broke the 4-minute barrier. Not too bad, but I think I could get to under 3:30. Day 2, some muscle memory should kick in. I'm looking forward to it.